For nearly 20 years now, I've been a trauma chaplain for both law enforcement and the fire service. And in that period of time, I've seen more than my share of grief and tragedy. I, I was trained to remember that it's not about me. In situations where people are hurting, it's not about me. Sometimes when I would be helping somebody through a traumatic event, they would say it was the worst day in their life. And it was true. But God has always protected me, and in these circumstances, He always will. 3 weeks ago, our 58-year-old son died. He had been mentally ill since his early 20s and had been under a doctor's care most recently for a lung disease. We got that dreaded call, that one that everybody thinks about but never wants to have happen. Early in the morning, giving us the bad news. Nothing can prepare you for that. And even though I have all this knowledge about grief, it was suddenly at our door. I lost my parents relatively young. They were in their mid to late 60s. Jim's dad lived to his late 70s, and his mother lived to be 98, and she lived every moment of it. However, the thing about losing a child is that's not the plan. We don't bury our children, they bury us. We're each grieving in our own way, as people do, but we are grateful for one big gift from God. Our son died in his sleep. And so had his grandmother before him and his uncle. It's really hard to find a blessing in death, but that was a comfort to know that he probably didn't suffer. Jesus saw death during his ministry, and he was also a part of the miracles when people were raised from the deathbeds, when he simply spoke words such as, "Lazarus, come forth." We have the Bible so that we can understand that death and grief are part of this life, but that He has a greater life for us when He comes back to take His saints to live with Him forever. Can you even imagine that there will be no more death? Loved ones will not die. Birds will sing forever. Flowers won't wilt and trees won't lose their leaves. When you think about the beauty of heaven, it makes it even more urgent to take this message to every nation, kindred, and tongue, so that Jesus can come, and He comes back to take us to that wonderful place. When I was being trained as a chaplain, there were many things we were taught to never say, and one of the most important of these was the statement of, "Time heals all wounds," or even the worst of them all. You'll get over this. Yeah. The death of a loved one, those memories of his or her life, and the frequent daily reminders will never go away. It just doesn't, it won't go away. I still grieve for my parents, and they've been gone for 35 to 40 years. Before any of these deaths happened in our family, Jim and I had always determined that we would never want to go through anything like this without the knowledge that God loved them and that we'll see them again just another time. For just like that song says, we have this hope that burns within our hearts, hope in the coming of the Lord. Someday, there will be a reunion of all reunions, and we'll dwell in the house of the Lord forever. If you've lost a loved one, or even if you're grieving right now, let me pray that you have that peace that passes all understanding, and that Jesus will enfold you into His arms of comfort. Jim and I would appreciate it if you'd lift us up in your prayers as well. Thank you for listening, and God bless.